Hello, this is Paul Gibbs here giving you my reflection on what I think is the most important issues that have been going on in higher education this year. Student and student recruitment has featured quite strongly. First, the number of medical places that had been increased during the pandemic for doctors have been reduced. Somehow this seems to me a little problematic, especially at a time when the infections from COVID are going up. However, there's really good news is that young people in London are still continuing their enthusiasm to go to university and indeed are tending to take much more advice from their family. This is at a time when fees have been announced will remain at 9,250 for the next year. And whilst there is a debate going on in Parliament about reducing them to the 2006-2007 level of £3,000. Good luck with that. The other interesting aspects are to do with the discussion of algorithms to plot a program for individual students so that they can be more successful in the way in which they obtain their degree. This seems to me to be slightly problematic in that what we're looking at is the skills that the students currently have and how we can capitalize upon those rather than trying to develop an education which allows them to flourish, explore, be creative, and push themselves in a new and safe space to do that kind of development. It is a bit strange that to me that we seem to be risking falling into the gap of technology being our master and us becoming slaves to what technology can do, rather than us being able to harness those skills and the facilities to enrich our lives and to enrich those of humanity. Talking about enrichment, perhaps that's the wrong term, the essay mills have been banned. That's a great news, but they've been banned only in the UK. And it does seem to me to be a little problematic when we're looking at what are the reasons for that. It's quite clearly it's cheating, but why did people cheat? Well, they cheated to be able to circumvent the notions of assessment and the forms of assessment. So perhaps we should be looking in more detail at the forms of assessment that we are advocating and offering to students. One set of programs that did have a different form of assessment were BTEC. Oh, the new programs of the TE qualifications are taking the place of those which had offered a different form of assessment. Seems to me, again, a little bit difficult to claim that we need to have new qualifications when those that we currently have could be amended and enhanced. Another announcement from the IHE, if you remember we spoke about them last week, is that the Office of Students is going to develop a program of specialist world-class institutions. Well, most of the specialist world-class institutions are IHE institutions, and you have to wonder why the government is wanting to fund these institutions more than they're funding income into state education. Perhaps that's because there hasn't really been the same take up as they'd hoped to create a market in higher education. But of course, that's purely speculation. The next week, we have the emergence of the higher education spending review. And prior to that, we had the announcement of research funding. Middlesex has got about £6.3 million of recurring research funding. However, Oxford, Cambridge, UCL all have in excess of 130 million, plus other research fundings and donations that they receive. If the government is going to level up, then perhaps that's one area where they can consider a wider leveling up profile. I was reading a new book very recently by John Douglas from Berkeley University, and that book is really quite disturbing. It maps the ways in which universities are being used by government to pursue the government's political aims and goals. These political goals are being set up against the liberal nature of universities, and in such a way are trying to create a tension between universities and states. This isn't just the UK, nor just the United States. It's a worldwide phenomenon. So I'm going to leave you this week and anxiously anticipate the spending review, although it does seem, what has already been leaked, that the majority of any money is going to go to further education, for skills development. And that might be a very interesting thing for us to consider next week on how it impacts upon the universities. Have a good time next week. Bye-bye.